So driving tech and ops collaboration has been a huge priority for banks overall, and consequently for GICs as well. So you've had a very impressive journey on that front. So could you talk us through that journey and what have you accomplished in terms of tech and ops collaboration?
Absolutely. So yes, tech and ops collaboration was something that we started experimenting with almost 8 years ago, when we realized that we have both the operations team and the IT teams literally, in the same building, working on the same tools that the operations teams were using, and rather than route all the change requests that the operation team wanted back to the headquarters and then it coming back to the same team in the same building, we realized that it really would be a good idea to really make them sit next to each other, not just physically co-locate, but also make them align to the same goals, to make sure that they are trying to accomplish the same business objective, and they had a common, let's say, leadership structure in place. So we tried that for a few, let's say, processes. For example, on the reconciliation side, where we put the operations team that was in charge of processing the breaks, together with the IT team that was maintaining the tools, creating all those routes, and we realized very quickly that there was a huge value in doing that, because we noticed a significant improvement in the quality of the business KPIs that was being demonstrated by the team. We saw examples like where the IT team was also thinking about some of the changes that they were pushing into production would really help the operations team improve their business KPIs, rather than just worry about, how can I get it into production and will it be a good release and things like that. So we saw a huge sort of congruence of the business impact that both the teams wanted to create. So to us, it was a huge opportunity because we had many other operations teams and IT teams here together. So one by one, we were able to roll it out in many other places wherever it was practical and feasible, to create that common structure. I think this idea grew in popularity, and even at the headquarter level, we were able to see an impact of this idea, wherein some of the global teams are now considering and rolling out new organization structures that use this concept. The overall, let's say, movement and transformation at the group level towards an agile methodology also helps, because it clearly was talking about teams that were completely aligned and behind the same objective, be it IT or operations or business or finance, etc. So I think the overall movement was in line with the transformation that the group wanted to do, and we were able to demonstrate that because the silos and the boundaries between the organizations were very weak here, and we were able to sort of put those things quite well together.
So it's not only, I think what's different about what you've done is many GICs have project-based collaboration.
Yes.
But I think what you've initiated is structural changes, like IT and ops teams rolling up under a common leader for a particular area, like reconciliation.
Exactly.
Can you talk a little more about how does that really work in terms of ownership, reporting?
Yes, I mean we were initially concerned about the fact that because the two teams bring different skill sets, right? One is an IT skill set, the operations skill set. Whether it would be practical for a leader or a manager to manage both the teams, but in reality we find that it's not a big challenge. It's also an opportunity for upskilling and making each other aware of the skills and the key attributes of the team. For example, our IT team really enjoy working on deliveries that make a business impact and see their impact being realized immediately. The operations team also really liked the fact that they were able to interact with the IT teams, upskill themselves on new digital technologies, and sort of transform themselves as a much more technology aware operations professional. So no, we did have a few challenges, because initially the policies, the HR, sort of adjustments had to be done to manage a not a cohesive team, but a different skill set together. But it's something that
and you started this in the GSC,
yes,
and it is something which the parent organization is looking to adopt, driven by some global changes.
Exactly. So we started that here. It required some adaptation, but it is there in place. I'm again, it's not there everywhere.
Yep.
Wherever it makes sense, where we have a large operations team and the large IT team, it is a perfectly valid case for us to do that. This also leads us actually as a next step to deliver end-to-end services or outcome-based services to our global businesses, which we are now packaging as utilities. Rather than now saying we will have a reconciliation set up with an operations team of X people and an IT team of Y people, we're really saying that we will manage the end-to-end front office, back office reconciliation, the cash reconciliation, etc. as a service. And we now are saying that we will own the entire IT solutions, the operation solutions, and the result is what we are delivering to the overall group.
Correct.
And reconciliation again is a service or an activity that different parts of the group uses, right? All types of businesses need reconciliation activities. So we're able to offer now that utility as a common platform for all the different departments of the bank to use us.
All right, thanks, Sunil. So there are three key learnings for the industry GICs as they think about cross-functional collaboration. First learning from this is it is definitely possible. Very often GICs get constrained by their own structural barriers that say, okay, we cannot do something here which is different from how the parent organization is structured. So that's point number one. It is possible. Second is to make this successful, clearly aligning on business objectives and business outcomes. Once that common goal is in place, everything else can fall in place in terms of aligning skill sets, people understanding more about what each other does. And the third key learning is GICs need to prioritize where this is possible versus not, or rather where it will be more effective versus not. There are some areas which lend themselves more naturally to this, but there are some areas which this may not be possible or a more difficult challenge, but it's definitely possible, and look forward to seeing more examples of this in the industry. Thank you.